Hey Phil, great review on the Natural. I decided to do a video response, which I almost never do, so overlook my hasty little thrown together studio. Didn't figure you guys wanted to look at messy desk. Anyway, the Natural, I enjoy mine. I just want to show you a few things that I have learned on mine. First of all, you'll notice no gap. As you mentioned, I did indeed sand down the 510 connector, so there is no gap. It fits flush. Airflow. What I did, it's not perfect. I wished I had used a little bit steadier hand, whatever, when I did it, but I cut 2 notches with my Dremel. As you can see, I got them a little crooked, but they do work. The connections, as you can see, they are indeed brass, chrome-plated brass, which I have no idea why somebody would do that, but they did. But the chrome plating is very, very thin, easily removed. I used some fine grit sandpaper and removed the plating from the top of the pin, which is actually at the end of a screw. I'll get to the rest in a second. I also wanted to say really quick that these segments where they go together, where you can see the lines, I was able to improve mine with a piece of emery cloth. You could also use a piece of fine sandpaper, a Scotch-Brite pad, a little time, and patience, and you can actually improve this. What I did is just hold it around it with one hand and twist it back and forth until it sanded it down. Now, I got really good results on this bottom segment. This top one could use a little more work, but it is what it is. I gave up on it for the time being. Okay, get this apart. And I am using the 18490 and a kick. If I can get it out there. What I noticed is that between the differences between the battery length of an 18650 and the 490 and the kick is that I was getting, as you mentioned, I was getting the gaps in between the segments when this was screwed all the way down. Now you can see where I sanded the bottom of this screw, the positive terminal, to expose the brass. Trying to do this one-handed. Sorry, it's gonna look like hell, but it is what it is. The bottom one also exposed the brass. I haven't measured it. Some people on ECF have, with doing the removing the plating, and noticed a noticeable improvement in conductivity and less voltage drop by doing this. Anyway, what I discovered is by removing this very bottom cap, I was able to screw all the rest of the segments together with no gaps. So that led me to believe that this bottom pin, where it goes into this cap, is too long and is bottoming out in the cap. I did some measurements of the spring to make sure that once I did this mod that I did, that this would always be seated in here and and not flop around to the side and give the spring full range of movement. And what I was able to do was sand about 2 millimeters off of this pin. And now I have full spring action. So I'm able to use the 18650, 18490 with the kick, remove the 18650 tube, use the 18350 perfectly, no gaps, no rattles, because the spring's working like it should, because this bottom pin was too long. While I had it off, you can see I obviously removed the plating. I also took the switch apart, mainly to see how it worked. Not easy to get out of there, but I removed the switch. The spring in there is pretty substantial. What I ended up doing was cutting one coil off of that spring and stretching it to fit back in original length. And when I put it back together, I have a much easier to push switch. Some guys on ECF are actually heating and annealing the spring, which will result in the same thing. I mean, easier to push. I just happened to not think of it at the time and cut the coil, which is working fine. But anyway, there you go. I just wanted to show that the Natural is extremely moddable. It's fairly simple. It's stainless steel. It's like, as you said, fairly robust. And there is room for a lot of improvement on it with just a little bit of work. Taking your time not to overdo it. It can be from just a mediocre entry-level mechanical to a really decent entry-level mechanical. That said, I'm very interested in the Natural telescope version that's coming out, and I'll probably be checking that one out. But anyway, I just wanted to post this and show you some things that I and some other people on ECF have been doing to our Naturals to improve them. But anyway, there you have it. And again, thanks for finally doing the review. And you guys have a good day.